Okay, so I went online and I learned how to make sourdough starter because I ran out of yeast. And so I used 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of filtered water, and I mixed it up and I put it in this jar. It's an old spaghetti sauce jar that I bought. We keep all these glass jars. And gave it a really good stir, put the lid on, not too tight. I just, just finger tight, that's all. Didn't screw it on really tight because I want the gas to escape a little bit. I'm afraid it'll explode. Put this on top of my fridge, and I did this about 3 days ago. And yesterday I looked at it, didn't rise. This morning I looked at it, and it was right up to here. It had doubled in size, literally. Actually, it was a little bit higher. It was up to the ridge here. And so I opened the lid, gave it a really good stir. And if you go online or read the books about sourdough starter, they all say take half of it out, throw it away, and then put another cup of flour and a cup of water, and then just give it a stir, and that's how you feed it. And I'm not doing that because I don't want to waste that. I don't want to throw it out in the garbage. So what I was planning on doing was, okay, it's now, what's the date today, Sarah? June 22nd?
Yeah.
21st, 22nd?
22nd.
22nd. And so Christmas is coming up pretty soon, eh? It's only like about 5 months away. Maybe 6. Anyhow.
Whatever.
So I usually start thinking about Christmas presents, Christmas gifts, roughly around June. And then by September, October, I've got more than half my gifts done. So this year I was thinking, because of this coronavirus, it's really hard to go shopping, and who has the money to spend since nobody's really working? So I'm going to give everybody sourdough starter for Christmas gifts. This is going to be one of the gifts anyhow. So I'm planning on doing homemade Christmas gifts this year. So when I empty half of this sourdough starter, instead of throwing it into the garbage, I'm going to put it into another jar. And I'm just going to keep on doing that. Take half out, put it in another jar. Take half out, put it in another jar. And then by Christmas time, I should have enough sourdough starter gifts. So what do you think? Sounds good, right? So today I got up in the morning. It's been super hot and humid here in southern Ontario lately. I think yesterday was like 39, felt like 41 degrees Celsius. Humidity level super high. Anyhow, so I go out about like 6 in the morning, and I'll water my plants and harvest what I can. So I've grown all those peas. I'm going to take you for a walk through my yard after this. So these are some of the peas that I harvested this morning. It's not that many, but the more you pick, the more it grows. So I go out almost every morning, and I just pick a little bit like this, and then I wash them, and I'll show you what I do. So I wash them. You see this little curly Q at the end of the pea? You just grab it and pull it off, just like that. And then with your thumbnail, you can just split it open. Okay? See now? Those are peas, sweet peas. And you just pop them out. See? Oops, okay, one's on the floor now. Just pop them out, and then I just put them in a freezer bag. And this is what I do almost every morning. So far I've only done it, maybe 3 days now, so far I've only gotten this much. Okay? But what I'm doing is all the vegetables that I grow, we're going to eat them during the winter months. So in the summer months, the vegetables here are, I wouldn't say cheap, but they're much cheaper than in the winter. So for example, but if you're going to buy a bag of apples here in southern Ontario, Canada, in the winter months, 12 apples will cost you about $6, almost $7. And if you maybe buy about 6, maybe 8 little tomatoes, you're looking at $8. So it's like $1 a tomato. So everything we grow, we freeze or can or dehydrate, and everything's for the winter months. Okay, so I just picked those peas. I just opened the pods, filled up this, put them in the bag. Now this bag is going right into my freezer. And these are the pods, empty pods. And these I will give to my worm bin or compost bin. Okay, so today is June 26th, and it's heating up again. I would say maybe 2 weeks ago the heat here was in the high 30s, but because our humidity level is super high, it felt like it was in the 40s. And so anyhow, and then the last, I guess, 3 days, it went down to 18 Celsius. Like, what? Anyhow, so it's super hot, and my peas are dying back now. I've been harvesting them just about daily. So anyhow, I'll give you a tour of my garden. So these are the Alaska peas that I put in the pot. I had 6 peas per pot. Oh, and that's one of my homemade bird baths. And it is solar powered. See, these are my peas. I just picked a bunch. There's a cabbage. Because of the heat, I put all my cabbages back here behind the peas and under the trees here, because they're cool weather crops. But I've also been harvesting the leaves off these cabbage. So even though I don't have a cabbage ball yet, but you know what? You can pick the leaves and you can chop them up and cook them. And I did that the other day. I cut some cabbage leaves off, and I also picked a leaf from the pumpkin plant that I have growing and stir-fried it. It's pretty good. These are my beans, and they're starting to flower. This is an herb plant. Don't ask me what it is. I'll have to look it up. I totally forgot the name of this. I think it's not chrysanthemum, is it? Anyhow, I planted this in a pot about 3 or 4 years ago, and it goes to seed, and the seeds spread. And it is quite beautiful. They're freeloaders. We have a lot of freeloaders. Here I have a zucchini, and I planted more peas. And in this pot, this is the pot where I had kitchen, well, most of the pots did anyhow. I had kitchen scraps right up to about here, and then I added a bit of soil, and then I planted these plants in here. And so these were the green onions that I had growing in my kitchen all winter long. These are beans. They're doing really well. And doesn't that look like a potato plant? I did put potato scraps. You know, when you peel your potatoes, most people throw them out, and I usually do too, but I thought this year, you know what, I'm not going to waste anything. I'm going to chuck everything into the bins and the compost bins, and that's what I did here, kitchen scraps, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a potato. This is my broccoli. I haven't gotten any broccoli. Lots of peas, or beans. These are beans, sorry. These are bush beans. And these are also my mulberry tree cuttings. I'm still waiting to see what happens to them. Okay, it's a bit bright going into the sun. This is another plot of potatoes. These are my blueberry bushes. My lemon trees that I started from seed. This is all turnip. And I'll show you, there's some pretty big ones in here somewhere. Where is it? I don't know if you can see. Probably not. So in here I have all tomato seeds, tomato plants that I started from seed. So these are money makers. I also planted some flowers in here. That's a beauty. I love that. And my cucumbers are growing. This is a spaghetti squash that I grew last year, and I harvested the seeds and I planted one of the seeds just to, you know, just wanted to find out what it's gonna, how it'll be, how it'll turn out. It's growing really well. Those are more bush beans. And in amongst under these leaves I did plant a whole bunch of corn seeds. So I planted them quite late. I planted them about, what, 4 days ago? 3 or 4 days ago. And if they grow, that'll be great. And we'll just harvest the baby corn, and you can stir fry them or can them. I have quite a few sunflower seed plants. It's marigold, calendula. This guy is a freeloader. I grew calendula from seed last year, and they died back, and I threw the dead plants into the garden beds, and yep, they all bloomed again. The seeds have all come back. These are my cherry tomatoes. Here, these are my pepper plants. And all these guys are freeloaders. Look at that, one there, because I put compost underneath the soil. That is an amaranth plant that I planted. That is a, oh, what is that called now? Cherry, it's the fruit. Shoot, I'll have to look that up. See all these freeloaders? That plant I planted, that is a zucchini, and I believe this is a zucchini, and the rest of them are probably cucumber plants or pumpkin or squash. Be interesting to see. I planted a whole bunch of beet seeds in here. None of them grew. These are trellises my husband made. That one's 8 feet tall. It's funny. We put our compost bins in the garden beds, because when you turn these are tumbling composters, and when you tumble them, liquid pours out from the bottom, and if you don't have a tray under there and catch it, it actually goes to waste, and it's pure nutritious liquid. So we put the compost bins in the garden beds. That way when you tumble it, all the liquid goes straight into the soil. This garden bed, we still have to fill the soil. It's a potato plant. Another pot of potatoes. These are my tomato plants that I started off from seed, and marigolds. This is a composting place, and I put a rock on it. I figured it would be too heavy for anybody for an animal to lift off, but nope. Somebody's been in there, digging in there. Those are my cucamelons. They haven't died, but they're very slow growers. But once they start and they take off, oh, it's really great. They're wonderful. These are 2 stevia plants that I actually bought. And all in here, I planted corn seeds. Once again, it's very late planting them, but I will pick all the baby corn. My lemon balm. These are the daylilies that I planted this spring. And these were my irises. They were beautiful. I should have taken a photo of those. All in here are my cherry tomatoes, marigolds. These are all turnips that I planted. And as you can see, there's turnips. See that? Yay! So it looks like I'm pretty good at growing turnips. So, I don't know if you can see that. But they're all pretty good, doing very well. So I'll grow turnips from now on every year. Sunflower, that is a buttercup squash. And here I planted a zucchini. This is one of the kale plants that I had that I planted last year, and they came back. They survived the winter and they came back. And they all went to, they all bolted and went to bloom, and then they all went to seed. These are all kale seeds. So in all the, I only kept 2 plants with the kale seeds on. So this is dwarf curly kale. So I'll have the seeds from that. And this one is a Russian red. I don't know if you can see all these seeds. See that? So I'll be harvesting those as well. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a lot of kale growing back next year. This is my bee garden. This is all the comfrey. I've also planted some daisies here. And this is my soapwort. And this is the pot of fertilizer that I started. I did this a couple of days, I guess maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And these are all kale leaves, kale branches. I chopped a whole bunch. You can just rip them out. Just grab a bunch and rip them off. Break them up, put them in a big pot of water, and give it a stir every few days. And after a couple of weeks, you can use it. Perfect fertilizer, all organic. And it doesn't hurt the comfrey plants where you just rip the leaves off and rip branches out. It all grows back. More tomatoes. There's another little amaranth over there. This is lemon verbena, or verbena, yeah, lemon verbena that I bought and planted. And these guys are freeloaders. I buried a rotting pumpkin in this bed last fall, and within just a few days the worms ate the whole thing. And look at that, all the seeds must have spread, and yep, we have pumpkin growing. And this is the bed where I had all my curly kale that grew, survived the winter months, and they all went to bloom, and then they went to seed. And as you can see, they haven't actually died back yet. So I'm leaving them in because I want to see just how long they last. So I cut all the seed heads off and threw them out because I have a whole bunch growing from that one plant. This is a peas, and all along here I have peas. So what I'm going to do is build another trellis to put this pumpkin plant, to let it grow up and over, and hopefully it'll cast a little bit of shade on these peas. It's another bird bath, homemade bird bath. Another solar powered bird bath. Isn't that pretty? These are my garlic. This is wood, what is it? Wormwood. That's right. Planted this last year in the spring. Look how big that is. That's about 5 feet tall. So just to let you know, this is the solar panel for the bird bath. Right, you can see this is the wire. And it goes all the way up to the bird bath. This tree is a serviceberry, or otherwise known as a Saskatoon berry. And see all the berries? Very sweet, very delicious berries. Not as sweet as cherries or anything, but they have a very unique flavor. I really do like these. I harvested a whole bunch. Well, every year I harvest a bunch and I put them in the freezer bag. And I make things like apple crumble and stuff like that. And instead of apples, I'll put in a bunch of serviceberries. You know, if I run out of apples. Or you can add them. You can just add them to everything. The whole pile. The birds, once they're ripe, they get really dark red when they're nice and ripe, and then they're nice and sweet, and the birds just swoop in, pick them all, and swoop out. So harvest as much as you can. Don't know if you can see right down there, we bought a pear tree, and I found this at Sheridan Nurseries, and it's a semi-dwarf pear tree. So I was looking for dwarf fruit trees so that I can plant them in these grow pots. I don't want to plant anything in the ground anymore because they do not last. The soil here is terrible. There's a lot of garbage underneath this soil. For those of you who don't know, this was the last house built on the street, and we were the first owners, and we built a pond in here one year, and I'm not kidding, it took us 2 weeks to dig down to four feet. We even had to rent a road breaker. It was loaded with builder's garbage, including shoes, paint cans, everything. So we're going to start putting our fruit trees in grow pots. And you know what? That way if you ever move, you can just take them with you. That's our makeshift greenhouse. The only thing I have growing in there now is ginger and turmeric. I'm not going to go in there. It's just too damn hot. Right now it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit in there. And it's very humid out, so it'll feel much hotter than that. I just want to show you down here. This is a south-facing wall. Southwest. So this wall gets super hot. And last year we grew a whole bunch of eggplants here. And we couldn't grow eggplants in our garden, but I put them in pots just like this and put them up against this wall, and we got so many eggplants. And look at this. We planted these tomatoes. These are two Roma tomatoes, and this is a money maker. And I put these in these pots. These are all, I started from seed, just like all the other ones, and I planted them all at the same time, and look how big these are because it's right up against this wall. This is calendula. I did not plant these this year. They all sprouted up. Freeloaders. Unbelievable considering this is Canada. So there you go. Isn't that beautiful? It's crazy how big that is compared to the other ones. Shocking. And these pots I did the same thing. Kitchen scraps in the bottom, and then I topped it up with soil, and I just put my plants in there. And they're doing really well. And every now and then I do fertilize them with the homemade organic fertilizer that I make from the comfrey plants. So during this coronavirus, with us all staying inside, it's very boring. We're getting very bored. It also causes a lot of depression. So we've been doing an awful lot of art. And so what I've been doing actually is started scraping these old chairs. This patio table and chairs I bought from Walmart, I would say, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And it's quite beautiful, but everything is chipping off. See that? It really looks awful. Isn't that gross? So I did buy a steel brush, and what I'm doing now is scraping off all that and all the stuff that's chipping off. I actually brushed the whole chair down, and then I went to Home Depot and I bought paint, cans of spray paint. I think it's called Rust-Oleum, and this is what I've done. This was a matching little table that came with the set. I painted that wild raspberry. The bench we bought from a garden center, about 22 years ago. I did the same thing, brushed it down, painted it blue. My daughter picked that color. It's beautiful. Isn't that pretty? So my husband said he wants all the chairs all different colors. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I'm sweating, super hot and humid. So what I'm going to do one day is make a video on intuitive art. I do a lot of intuitive art, and my youngest daughter is also, she is actually gifted in art. We'll see if she lets me film her. But my older sister, she's a fine artist, excellent art, great painter. My youngest sister is too, but she doesn't live here, she lives in Calgary. And so anyhow, I'm going to have another art day. We have art days here a lot. Usually they're on Sundays. That's when my father visits. So next time we have an art day, I'm going to film it. So, well, that's it. You guys have a great day.